Have you ever wondered about the nature of God, your purpose, and the joy of connecting with something greater than yourself? In the next few minutes, you'll be captivated by one's individual, incredible journey into meditation, heartfelt conversations with a higher power, and the discovery of an overwhelming love that defies words. This is a story of growth, transformation, and a desire to share the power of divine love with others. Join me for a deeply moving and enlightening experience. Today, I am going to talk about a topic I never would have imagined I'd be talking about, and that's God. Now, this isn't going to be a controversial issue, but one to bring awareness to, and to get you to start thinking about your beliefs, your existence, and your reason for living. When I was let go from my job, I knew I had a chance to start something brand new, and yet I didn't know what that was. So I started to explore meditation, more for calming my anxious thoughts, but also to see if I could find some answers. I started asking who I was, why I was here, and what was my purpose. And meditation brought so many answers, and yet so many more questions. But I kept at it. I kept getting deeper. I kept going further until what I felt right for me started to come out. I began to feel joy and peace and a presence that I had never experienced before. And it was beyond any words that I could express. And I knew that I wanted more of it. The overwhelming love that I felt was indescribable. Now, fast forward a few years, and I had met someone who said something to me that really stood out. And she said, at some point, you'll start using universe and God interchangeably. Now, at this point, I believed in a higher power, something that connected all of us, something that I referred to as the universe. And when she said this, I had the thought of, yeah, right, maybe, but I don't know, and felt my eyes slightly roll in my mind. But when I started to explore this topic more, I realized maybe she was true. And then came my low. I was in a relationship that wasn't going anywhere. I was trying so hard to make things work, yet he wasn't. I felt alone, abandoned, and no one to really turn to. I had moved states away from where I grew up, where my family and friends were, and I felt so disconnected from everyone, and I didn't know where to turn. I would sit in my car and cry or go for a walk in nature, sit down, lean up against a tree I would find, and just start talking. I would pour my heart out, cry some more, and ask questions. And I soon realized that when I was done sobbing, that I started to listen. I was hoping something was listening, that something or someone would help me, or save me, or encourage me, or just tell me things were going to be all right or what to do. I just wanted something. I also felt the need to get away. I'd find myself driving to the nearest church parking lot at night. It was a sort of a pull or a draw to this place, and I didn't know why. I just needed a place to sit, to cry, to talk. And as I allowed myself to get everything out, I asked all that I wanted and began to finally settle down. I would hear answers to my questions. I didn't know that they were answers, but I knew I was in a place of allowing something to come to me because I needed help. Now, I've heard that sometimes when you meditate and you allow your mind to be open, things can pop into your mind that you hadn't thought about. I think of it as a brainstorming session with my higher self. I'd ask a question and then just listen for a few moments and see if anything came to me. I also learned not to dismiss anything that came to me, because sometimes things that seem so far-fetched, and in reality, it becomes a great idea that I wouldn't have been able to imagine on my own. But when I was done meditating, sometimes I couldn't remember the answers to my questions. So I decided to see if I could write the answers while I was still remaining in this meditative state. And this took a little bit of practice. Sometimes my words covered up other words, or my pen ran out of ink during this time and I didn't know about it. Or I had to try and figure out what other words said. And at the time, this worked. I was able to remain connected to this space and still somewhat write during it. And this process did become easier and easier over time. At the time, I didn't know what this was, and I really didn't care. It felt good. It was helping me to develop and to grow myself, to love more, and to see the beauty in things. I knew this was something that came from a place of love. And then a few years later, I was volunteering and heard a few people talking about a church that they had attended. And after several days of overhearing them talk about this church, it really started to intrigue me. The way that they spoke, there was so much love coming from them. I didn't know where it came from, but I knew that I really wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to know how they had so much love and kindness and genuine care to give. So one day I was talking with one of them, and she had invited me to attend. She said she would meet me there and show me around, and the feeling that I had got was love. So I said yes. Now, I have never attended church. I did go a couple of times when I was little, but I felt so uneasy being there. My chest would feel tight, and maybe it was the anxiety. I closed myself off and really didn't want to be there, and I never went back, but this time it seemed different. I was nervous, but I still wanted to see for myself the love that was pouring out of them. So on Sunday morning, the door greeter very happily said good morning and welcomed us in. And it was a little overwhelming with how many people were there, but we finally found her. She hugged us both with a great big smile and greeted us with a warm welcome. She handed me some papers and gave me a Bible. And it was a simple looking, wasn't overly big Bible. This was my first Bible that felt like mine. She then proceeded to show us around. She showed us the children's center, which was amazing. It was so fun and inviting. And I told her that I wasn't ready to go into the worship center and watch the service there, and she just accepted that. She met me where I was at. So we sat in the cafe and watched the service on the TV that was in there. She explained everything that was happening. And during their service, they end up having a short break for fellowship. You talk to people, introduce yourself. They also have snacks and drinks too. And that's when I got to introduce myself to the pastor. She was so excited because who on their first day gets to meet the pastor of the church? And this experience was a good one. I will say that there were a lot of people, and found out later that it is a very large church, and yet it doesn't feel that way. I felt welcome. I didn't feel pressured or pushed or even out of place. And over time, I joined a small group. It was a relaxed setting. They never pushed. They encouraged, but if you didn't want to say something, you didn't have to. I was never talked down to or made to feel less than or stupid for not knowing anything about the Bible or the church. And this meant so much to me. I later then joined a freedom group, which breaks the chains that hold you back. I would completely encourage people to go through a freedom study. And I've been in and out of a few small groups. Some felt right, some not so much. It's not that they were bad, they just didn't seem to fit with me. I have learned over these past few years that when I was writing or meditating or talking with, quote, someone, that it was really God all along, guiding me, standing beside me, and always there to lean on. I now know I was never alone. I hear God very clearly and don't have to feel ashamed or think that I'm crazy because I'm not the only one. I firmly believe in God. I know I have a relationship with God and we talk often. I know I can go to God with my troubles and my tributes. I know I have touched others' lives by listening and doing what is asked of me. And this has not always been the place that I have been. And I'm still in a place of fully surrendering everything to Him. I didn't trust. I didn't believe. But I knew the love that I felt. The pure light I have encountered. The overwhelming joy in my heart and in my being. This I know to be true, and I know I want more of it. I know this will not be where I always am, but it has a huge part of my spiritual growth, and I want others to experience God's love. I hope it has left you inspired and eager to explore your spiritual journey. Remember, the search for meaning and connection with the divine is a deeply personal one. And may you find the love and light that guides your path.